harm. I am Supergirl.
Hey guys, just finished watching Supergirl Season 4, Episode 4, Ahimsa. This episode was kind of fun. It was dealing with the whole Supergirl and the kryptonite in the air and putting into that Comic-Con costume that we saw at the end of last episode that was also revealed early on in a Comic-Con trailer. And I think it was interesting to see that costume, and it was a fun costume. I just don't understand why it was only one episode. I feel like it was kind of weird. It was kind of like overwhelming, like, and it was kind of done with in one episode. I understand the whole purpose of it was that, Melissa Benoist was not able to film, was not on set for early on in this season because she was still doing the Broadway show that she was doing, and so she wasn't there to be for the beginning of production this season. So I think that was quite interesting to see how they used it, and it's surprising as to, if I'm not mistaken, she missed like the first 2 weeks or something like that. Maybe she missed a little bit more, or maybe she only missed a week or something. But all that time all she had to miss was like one episode's worth of being there. I mean, she obviously was able to do some of the stuff later on, or maybe she was able to do some of the stuff, in between the takes or something as doing the Broadway show, but that's very unlikely. But it was really cool seeing her like Tony Stark style in the inside the mask type thing. That was cool. I was surprised that we didn't see like why it kept on getting. The big thing that I was curious about is why not make the mask, if Lena's making the mask for the costume, why make it a glass mask and have it black? Why not have it clear so you can see right through it? I don't think that doesn't make sense to me. Now I understand, they actually couldn't do that, because Melissa Benoist was not in that costume. She probably only wore it at the end, to put it on at the beginning, to put it on at the end to take it off type of thing. So, she didn't really put it on for too much. And I think that's interesting with that, but I think it would have been cool, or maybe they could have had it a glass version of it and maybe just put her face over it. If you look at go over to Gifted, they have the Frost sisters there who are triplets, and they have two actresses who look like the main actress, and they just kind of put the dots in the face and they move that over. They're able to do that technology for a TV show budget. They could have done that here and just, maybe just not even give her the suit, not even have this, just have her stunt double do all her scenes as Kara, as Supergirl, or whatever, and just put the dots on the face. Now maybe that would have been, a bit much for the whole episode type thing, but I think you could have still kept her in this and just put the dots on her face and put, CGI her face into the mask type thing. I don't know, I think it would have been an interesting thing to try that, but maybe on the CW budget, maybe the Gifted budget is clearly a little bit more than Supergirl, so we'll have to wait and see. Maybe that's the reason for something like that. But the Gifted, they do it so much and it's so long for such an episode, they must have found a way to make it doable type of thing. So I think it's going to be cool to see as to where things go with that. Also, if I'm not mistaken, with the Gifted, they also just have the actual actress on set for those things. So every time they have the Frost sisters do something, they have them kind of the main one who's playing all three of them will film one line, move over to the other one, and they just kind of vice versa move it all around, right? And that's how they kind of stitch it all together. So they actually have the actress, whereas they're here, they didn't have Melissa Benoist. So I think it's really cool to see that. And we open up this episode, we get into see how John Jones feels bad for not helping Supergirl. He obviously caught her last episode, but he feels bad that when it came to him for help fighting against people who are attacking aliens, he didn't want to fight. He told his father he wasn't going to fight, and he didn't want to do that anymore. So that was kind of interesting dealing with that. We see that another DEO agent ends up going bad, and it's just like, what the hell? What the hell's going on with this thing, with the DEO? There's so much stuff going on. There's so much stuff going on at the DEO, and another agent goes bad. I mean, it's just kind of like, it's starting to get too much now. They cannot have another agent. Two agents, okay. Even like, it's just, why are these DEO agents turning now? They didn't want to fight for they didn't believe in alien rights and all that stuff. They should have done this a long time ago. It just seems a bit weird that these agents that we've never seen before all of a sudden just now are turning and against aliens. So far they've been fighting side by side with Supergirl and John Jones for a long time, and then all of a sudden they just kind of turn. That doesn't make sense to me. So I wish we would have had kind of backstory to these characters. Maybe it's a bit much to asking for that, but I would have liked to have seen backstory into Jensen's character backstory, into this other agent's character who gets killed off right away. Agent Taylor, I think is his name here on IMDb. So, I think it would have been cool to see as to why they did that. We got the backstory for Agent Liberty, but it just seems out of nowhere for these characters to just turn on these aliens like that for so long. I mean, Jensen is just a character we've seen out of nowhere, and I just wish we would have seen this. I wish they would have picked an agent that we built this up properly and see this agent before he turns and see him on the DEO. If you want to change him later this season, it would have been cool to actually get to know Jensen last season a little bit. Tease him a little bit here when you plan on having him turn in there. That way, you're not just bringing him up. You're like, hey, here's this agent that we've never seen before. But yet he's clearly been here in the shadows. We just never focused on him. And then all of a sudden, we're just kind of, we're going to see him, and then he's going to turn bad right away. And it's like, out of nowhere, and I understand, the whole thing, there's like politics or all this stuff is going on. But these people who are working for the DEO, they've been working with Supergirl, doing all this stuff, saving aliens all this time. And, if they didn't like aliens coming into this stuff, they would have voiced their opinion. They would have done something a long time ago. When aliens first started coming, when a lot of aliens first started coming in like season 1. Or after, more like season 2 and stuff. So I think it just seems a bit out of nowhere. All these agents, why are they now, turning? It makes sense for the public, now that the president stuff is going on, and they're just more and more, they're taking over the jobs. I get that. Now there's getting to be too many of them. But for these agents, these DEO agents, they should be held to a higher standard because they've been fighting for these, and they know about aliens so much longer and know that how many are out there, a lot more than everyone else. So it just seems a bit weird that they would kind of that they would just, why are they going bad all of a sudden now, and why so many, and how come they haven't found a way to check that out? I think Alex needs to have John Jones kind of scan everyone's minds. Now maybe he doesn't do that, but maybe now is why they're turning, is because before they were maybe terrified of John Jones, and I think that could be an interesting idea. Maybe they go and they attack him because the reason why they only turn now is because they thought that John Jones would use his telekinesis to kind of read their minds, right, and he'd find out about it right before anything happened. But maybe we know that he probably would never do that, but maybe that's the fear that they had, and that's why they never revealed themselves back then. I'd like to play with something like that. I think it'd be really interesting to see as to, maybe they decide to attack John Jones. Looks like in the trailer for next episode, Jensen gets some powers, so it would make sense for him to go after John Jones, maybe he, since he never really liked him or something when he was working for the DEO type thing. I think that could be something interesting to play with. So we see that Mercy Graves ends up taking the Helgramite and the copy from the DEO lockup, and they end up try to use them they try to find a way, and Agent Liberty finds a way to end up controlling them using Manchester Black, who we later see in this episode. John Jones finds him in this episode. He's looking for his wife, Fiona. Fiona Byrne here. That's pretty cool. I guess I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or if it's a straight up Easter egg. Fiona Byrne, the last name Byrne is John Byrne, who's a classic DC artist and stuff, artist and writer from the 80s and stuff. So I think it's really cool. He's a classic Superman storyline. If I'm not mistaken, it was a classic Superman storylines and stuff from the 80s. He's the one who did all those things and stuff and kind of brought him back, Superman. And I think it's really cool to see that here. I guess just seeing how it's spelled, looks spelled exactly the same way, at least here on IMDb. So it could be a coincidence. Maybe it's a character of his, but it's really cool seeing that there. So John Jones finds Manchester Black in his apartment. He's looking for his wife, Fiona Byrne, and Mercy Graves is using Fiona to kind of control the Helgramites and the copy and stuff. And I think that's really cool to see, as to kind of where things are going to go with that. We see that Brainiac later on, they're trying to worry or figure out how to take the kryptonite out of the air, and Brainiac tells Lena that he's he's techno-organic, and that just comes out of nowhere for me. I'm just kind of like, whoa. Does she know that he's not human? Now, aliens are all over the place. So maybe she just thinks he's alien, which I guess technically he is, since he's not from Earth, you know, even though he's from the future, but he's also not from Earth, right? So he's an alien. But does she know he's from the future? Does he know he's from the League? I mean, he has his Legionnaire ring just kind of out there showing it to everyone. Now, it might not mean anything, which, again, every time I see the Legionnaire ring, I still get mad that we still haven't figured out as to how Superman has one over at his Fortress of Solitude. We saw that in early on Season 2. In Season 1, we saw it in Flash. I think we've had the whole Legion storyline, and we still have no meeting of maybe Brainiac sometime this season. Maybe he'll be in the crossover, and that's when he'll meet Superman, and that's when we get the idea as to, whether or not this version of Brainiac has met Superman, or if Superman has met a different, a future version of this Brainiac, and if so, how is Brainiac staying in this timeline? If Brainiac meets Superman, is like, I've never met you, but I've only read about you while being here, then is it going to affect the timeline, this timeline, of if Superman has met Brainiac or not? Hopefully he already has met Brainiac, and that would not mess with time too much. But yeah, getting into the whole thing, does Lena know that he's from the Legion of Superheroes? Because when Mon-El was around, they kept on, hiding him, and all that stuff from Lena. Although I think at the end of last season, he was flying around in his Mon-El costume with no glasses or anything like that to kind of really hide himself. Although I think he was still wearing glasses when he wasn't in the super suit. But I don't know. I was just be curious to know as to how much Lena really knows, type of thing, and rather than just kind of ignoring what she supposedly doesn't know. It's like they didn't really. We weren't remembering that maybe Lena doesn't know that he's from the future, type of thing. So I don't know. It would be cool to get more into that as to how much Lena knows about Brainiac, and did she know he's from the future and all that stuff. Then we see that Nina Null tells James that we first see her, and she wakes up from asleep at her desk, and it's really interesting to see this. And I keep thinking about this: why is she always asleep at her desk every time we see her and stuff, and why she hasn't been fired yet? And then I remember that obviously she was cast as Dreamer type thing. So I think that's really cool. We see her. She warns James that if he goes out as Guardian, something bad will happen. Immediately thought, of course, it's her superpower. And hopefully that's a bit of a tease of that, and hopefully we can dive deeper into that later on. At this point, it's just kind of a reference, a very fast one, and you wouldn't notice it if you don't know that she's been cast as Dreamer. And I think that's really going to be cool to see that power. And later on, we do see Guardian. He does go out as Guardian to help Supergirl, and he's seen as anti-alien and beating up the aliens, which he was stopping the aliens, but because they were ex-prisoners from the DEO, and he knows that, but yet everyone who's reporting on it just sees him beating up aliens, right? So he don't see that. So I think that's really interesting. We're going to be playing with that to see where things go with that. And he said that he was kind of no longer charged or something. I don't know, not charged with anything, but I think that's just kind of what's the whole purpose of this whole thing, of stopping him, of setting this whole thing up where, if he goes out as Guardian again, he'll get arrested to just never have it happen again, What was the point of I get the point of what it was back in last season to reveal himself, but, what's the whole point of setting him up as, it's just, they set him up in this season like, he can never go back as Guardian because if he does, he'll get charged again. And now all of a sudden out of nowhere, they're like, no more. We're just going to change our minds now. We're going to say he's going to be deputized and he's going to be okay. Well, that just makes no sense. Like, it's just changing things on a dime like that for no reason. It just makes no sense as to where they're going with this, and why they're doing this with Guardian. And still, like I said with Guardian, I still don't like him because he has no training. He just knows how to fight. There is no place for him to learn how to fight. Which, again, if Supergirl was part of the same Earth, and part of Earth 1 with Flash and Arrow, he could go over to Arrow and learn to fight, go learn some hand-to-hand combat from Oliver, and say that, we don't have to see it, but we could see it at 1 or 2 episodes, and then just say that, he goes over to, he goes over and trains with Oliver, he goes over and trains with Thea, or, John Diggle type thing, which would be an interesting story, actually, to see, if they were on the same Earth, Diggle could come over, maybe since he's running Catgo, he has the money to pay Diggle a little bit for some boxing lessons, some training lessons, how to fight, type thing, which would be an interesting relationship to see those two together. But, since he's on a different Earth, you can't have those little crossovers that are so fun. And it would also explain as to how he's, good at fighting instead of just making him good at fighting. In this episode, we didn't see too much of that. He used kind of more of his gadgets and stuff, which again, we think it would be cool to see, him, how is he doing that without Winn? He was such a big part of that, and it doesn't look like Brainiac's helping him too much with that, which would be something cool to see Brainiac, upgrade his suit or change things to give him some futuristic stuff or things that Brainiac could do to his suit that, Winn never could because he's not Brainiac 5, right? Something that would be cool. We see that the kryptonite is removed from the air, and that's when I thought, like, really, one episode? Like, why? Like, okay, because it shows how, even though Melissa Benoist only missed like a week or two, it was only one episode's worth of filming really she missed, and even that she had time to film bits and pieces that of her in the mask later on type thing. They're able to put that on. And I think that was interesting. Although it was kind of disappointing that, I guess with James being her boss, there was no reason to explain why Carl wasn't around. I was waiting for Nina Null to ask that, like, why is Carl not around type thing, and he have James make up an excuse type thing. So I kind of wish that Cat Grant had been around for this episode, so that there would have been that whole thing as where's Carl, just like when she was attacked by the Black Mercy back in season 1. John Jones had to play her, but they had Supergirl for that episode. They had Melissa Benoist, so they were able to do that. Whereas here they couldn't have had. John Jones play Kara because they didn't have Melissa Benoist to do that. So I think that would have been fun to play with that, but we didn't get that because James, knows she's Supergirl, right, and can just cover for her. He's her boss. He doesn't have to do anything. So we see that the Russian Supergirl was put in like a lead chamber type thing to keep her protected from the kryptonite. So that tells us that she's probably not like a Bizarro Supergirl. She has the same exact weakness, kryptonite, and so far it looks like we haven't seen her powers. We don't know what her heat vision looks like. We don't know what her super breath looks like, and I think all those things, which are all those powers that she didn't have when she was in the the suit and stuff, which I think it was kind of okay. So yeah, that's going to be cool to see as to where things go with that Russian stuff, and hopefully things can move forward, because we keep getting teased with this Russian thing, but it goes nowhere. We haven't learned anything more, like where we left off in last season with this Russian Supergirl. We're still at the same point of that. We could just get teased and reminded that she's out there. That's all we get. Now, we did get a little bit where she was digging under the tunnel, building some sort of tunnels and stuff, but really, like, she was still building the tunnels out in Russia. She wasn't sneaking into anywhere. It doesn't even really tell us what she's doing. They could just be having her punch through ground just for no reason, just to keep her strong and make her get stronger and stronger, learn to punch through things and always training, right? Non-stop, day and night, right? That could just be the reason. There could be no real reason to build this. Maybe they're not really building a tunnel. Maybe they are building tunnels. Who knows? But just wish to get more information with that, and hopefully, like I've been saying, they can bring that into the whole, Agent Liberty storyline, and something can be all connected, because I would hate to have it just kind of two storylines for no reason. But hopefully, since they do have this Agent Liberty storyline and they have the Russian Supergirl storyline, they don't need to do any filler episodes this season, and they can just go back and forth between the Agent Liberty storyline and the Russian Supergirl storyline. So whenever they want to do take a break from this Agent Liberty storyline, they can do the Russian Supergirl storyline and never have to do filler episodes. That would be really, 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 really good. So all in all, I really can't wait to see where things go with that. We see that the Graves are killed. Mercy Graves and her brother, they're killed by the Helgamite as soon as they're no longer in control by Agent Liberty, or actually they were controlled by Jensen, and then we see Jensen is turned by Agent Liberty into he gets like an alien bug in his ear type thing, and based off the trailers for the next episode, it looks like he's able to absorb powers, and then obviously you see him absorbing powers from Supergirl, which is going to be cool to see as to how things go with that. I'm not sure if he's a character from the comic books or anything. I doubt it. I feel like we would have been teased as to who he is, and we would have probably given him a last name other than just Jensen. And I also feel like it's going to be cool to see as to where things go with that powers absorption thing. Can he absorb more than one power? All of her powers. It looks like it from the trailer. But does he collect powers? Can he absorb some powers from a Helgramite? Can he absorb, John Jones' powers? And can he absorb things that are not necessarily powers, like shape-shifting from John Jones? Can he absorb that? Or is that a physical thing that John Jones has, not necessarily a power, right? Maybe that is something that he can't do. Or the Helgramite shoots these spikes, right? Can he absorb those? Or are those just physical manifestation that he has and he can't do those? Or the aliens in the last episode who had the spikes on the arms, and they shoot them out sometimes. Can he absorb those, or are those just kind of, they're not a power type thing? That's going to be cool to see as to where things go with that. But like I said, it seems like it could be a bit of a filler episode with kind of the way Agent Liberty is doing these things, like, oh, hey, let's attack this, let's attack that, and every episode is just attack this way, no, let's attack that way, no, let's attack that. Like, there's no, like, it's not really going anywhere. You said, yes, we get the idea of where he's trying to do. He's trying to make the aliens seem bad, which he keeps failing to do, and, it just seems like he's seeming like some sort of a, filler episode generator. He's not really creating a season storyline. He's not creating a long story. He's just kind of, blip, instead of just doing something long, prolonged, and making a long season, long story. So that's what I really hope that they can get kicked into that and maybe dive deep into the Russian Supergirl storyline. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below about Season 4, Episode 4 of Supergirl. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes
subscribing
is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.